Hey, what's up guys, it is Saikuor Sam here and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm really excited to bring you guys a brand new commentary video where we're going to be talking about balancing game development and your school life. A lot of people have been suggesting me lately to make a video like this where I just talk about how I actually managed it personally while I was at my college years and making games and making YouTube videos, etc., and how I was doing the multitasking part, and at the same time I'm also going to give some experiences, how I did it, and I'm also going to talk about how I'm planning to do it when I actually start at university next year too. And before we get started with this video guys, I just want to say a big thank you for all the support on my latest videos, and I also want to challenge you to leave a comment down below if you have any feedback to the community, if you feel like you want to share out some of your own experiences, if you're a routine game developer or new or whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you have any questions, hit us up in the comments and we will be responding. And with that being said, let's get started with this video. So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about consistency, and I want to straight up get into social media. And by social media, I'm literally hinting at every kind of social media platform out there. I mean, like if you have your YouTube channel, you got your Twitter page, Instagram and Facebook profiles, and if you have your country specific type of social media platform that's trending in your country specifically, it's perfect. Like the more you have, the better it becomes. And I know it becomes harder to manage them, but if you connect them to a one piece and a one bundle, it's going to become so much easier for you, and it's going to help you building a loyal fan base for your game. Speaking of which, I want to get into a little bit further details about building a fan base. And by fan base, I don't mean that necessarily that you're going to have like 1,000 people, 10,000 people. I'm literally hinting at any kind of people you want to find, like 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, even 5 people do help your game's consistency to grow, because you're gonna have a loyal fan base who's going to support your game. And I'm not just thinking of like funding the game, I'm not thinking of just money, but the gist of it, like literally people are going to be there for your game's sake and for your sake. And this is not just for under the time you're at school or developing your game or under the progress, it's also very important for you to have your loyal fan base ready when you actually release your game, because that's when it's supposed to hit, right? You want your game to become successful even though that's not supposed to be your main goal. And when you have your fan base, even if it's a small fan base, like one person, 5 people, 10 people, whatever, 10,000 people, right? You need to show consistency then as well, and that's best you can do is to share your progress of your game with your community. And let's say you have a community of, let's say 500 people, right? Throw in whatever kind of X amount of people you want there, throw in any number, and these are people that are very pumped about the game, they're really hyped about the news and whatever, but you're not sharing any news, you're not sharing any screenshots, you're not sharing any trailers, you're not even like any media or any text-based news about the game. Well, the fan bases aren't going to be very happy about that, right? And the game is going to be considered not only the game, but the entire community mixed up with the game are going to be considered a dead man's land. And that's not a good reputation that you want to aim at getting, right? Especially before the release of your game, like not even after the release of your game, but before the release, it's major. It's literally caution that you need to put some focus on to consistency, share your progress and be like, hey guys, I couldn't be able to focus on the game development because I had this exam, that exam coming up, but here are some screenshots that you guys might not have seen yet. And that's gonna prove your community, okay, so I'm following this game because of this, because I'm really looking forward to this feature that is shown in this new screenshot that the developer shared. And that's going to motivate your fan base, which is going to result in your motivation increasing as well. Speaking of motivation, I want to get into a little bit more details about that factor, and I want to start by talking how you can't allow small faults to demotivate you every time. For example, you might not be able to be consistent on your social media sharing progress and building a fan base like we talked in the earlier parts of this video every time, right? You might not be 100% on that, which is normal. I've been in the same, like I've been walking in your shoes for a very, very long time, not only in game dev, not only in school life, but also in my YouTube channel, because I've been having the same trouble as well. And that's normal. It's not abnormal at all. Don't let that demotivate you. You should not allow small faults like that to demotivate you. If you lose a little bit of fans, you lose a little bit of views, you lose some, you get a bad grade, not a bad grade necessarily, but you get a lower grade than you expected at an exam while trying to balance school and game dev. Don't just focus on the negative parts. Don't be like, oh man, I didn't get the grade that I was expecting. Make that a source of motivation. Be like, okay, I got a bad grade. That was too stupid of me, it was a mistake, I made this mistake, and look back to your mistakes and ask yourself legitimately this question, like literally verbally just ask yourself, what was the mistake that I made? How could I have skipped it? What did I do wrong, and how can I fix it in the future? These 4 questions, and even any other question that you come up with, are going to be able to help you motivate even more. Because if you look at the full part of your glass, or whatever kind of motivational speech that I'm trying to give, like if you're looking at the positive part of failing, then you're just going to realize that you have a free fail that you've already done, which you can take granted of and learn from your mistakes. Now, this is not necessarily a free reason for you to fail every time and be like, okay, I'm learning from my mistakes, because you shouldn't focus on failing, obviously, but this is also something that has happened, and you don't necessarily have to make a negative thing out of it just because you've already failed, even if it's one extra time of failing more than what you had expected. And when you do this, it's also going to bring in some honesty to your soul, and not only because I'm thinking that you're a dishonest person, but when you actually believe that you're honest to your fan base and you realize that you're honest, you're going to be able to gain even more fans, because your fan base is going to realize this guy is not just a robot who's trying to balance his school and game dev at the same time. He's an actual person who's trying to make a game while in school and makes mistakes as well. And they're going to be motivated from that as well. They're going to be inspired. And when you inspire people, you're going to be able to get a lot more people into your group. And you will also find some help by doing this to your dedication. So if you showcase your dedication towards the game, to your community, and show that you're dedicated to not just, you know, making success, but you can fail and you're dedicated to fix these fails, they are going to appreciate that, and that's gonna make them feel, once again, like you're not a robot, which you clearly aren't, right? And the fails that you share with your community doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh guys, I failed this exam. Like, they don't want to hear about that, right? They want to hear about the game's progress. They want to hear about perhaps a little bit of your personal life. Like, you can tell them how your school is going, etc. But you shouldn't be like, yeah, I failed this exam, I'm stupid. Don't focus on the negative parts. It's just going to bring more negativity. Always, if you want to mention something that has been negative lately, focus on the positive part. Focus on, okay, so I made this negative part, like a mistake, but this is what I'm gonna do to fix it. This is what's happened now. This is what I learned from my mistake. These are some positive things, and this is going to bring more positivity to your community, which brings in a lot more people. Not only that, but also motivates your fan base to be a lot more dedicated towards your game, which is going to be a win-win situation. And please, for the sake of your game and for the sake of your community who's loyal to you and your game, don't rush it. Just stay focused, please. I've seen so many game devs make this mistake, even if they have all the opportunities in the world. They're not in school, they've been studying for how many years, whatever. They are more experienced than me, and then they just rush the game because they want to make it finish. And then it just becomes miserable because people just get disappointed after years of waiting or whatever, because the game is just rushed and the ending's not good, the middle is not good, the intro is not good. So don't make that mistake. But obviously I don't want to end it on a note like, don't make that mistake, because what do you mean by not making the mistake, right? And what I mean is that when people do that kind of stuff, when they rush it up, it's either because of limitation of their financial status, depending on what kind of game dev company they run, etc., if they're a bigger company or whatnot, and it's a limitation of any other kind of resource that they need to live, and or else it's just a dedication or motivation loss. And you're probably not gonna have that kind of financial status that is going to drastically change for you if you live with your parents or if you live on your own, but you have the kind of money that you can support yourself. So don't rush it up. Don't be like, okay, so the game is successful now, or the game has this many fans, let's release it. Don't do that. It's always a failure. It always ends up becoming miserable. Don't rush it up. Just say, okay, I need to stay focused. I still have these points to make. And when I finish these, I'm going to share some screenshots, share some news, etc., some content with my fans, maybe even a demo or a beta, and people are going to give me some feedback. And from there, I'm going to keep on developing and then release the game. Don't rush it up. Don't be like, okay, so the game is going to earn this much money and let's go right into the release. Don't ever do that, because that's not a good way of proving your community why they've been loyal for so long time for your game. Just be like, okay guys, you know what, I'm not going to be able to release it this week, but I do have a content for you or whatever. Like consistency comes in at every single one of these factors that I talk about in this video. Last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about balancing school and game dev, because this might be one of the most important, if not the most important factor in this video. First and foremost, allow yourself to be a little bit more multitasking. Don't rush it up, but just be like, okay, I'm at school right now, it's a little bit of free time, I'm at a break or whatever, lunch, and I have some free time on my hands. Let me tweet something, let me add something to my Instagram page, you know, consistency, add some motivation into your fan base. And this really depends on your kind of personality, but I'm the type of person who really likes seeing numbers growing, my progress being made, and my games, you know, growing. And success also, obviously, success is a very important factor for every single one of us, I believe. But the important thing is that I never allowed myself to get out of my way and be like, okay, success is the most important factor, you know, I'm gonna focus the shit out of it, and now I'm just going to focus on success only, because that's not gonna bring you anything, right? You want to be able to focus on all these other factors so that you can bring success by time, instead of just rushing it up like we talked about earlier and just failing miserably. And this is exactly what I did personally, just to see those numbers growing and to actually show some consistency towards my community, for them being there all the time for my sake and for my game's sake. So I was like, okay, I'm at a lunch, you know, I just had lunch with my friends. Now let me share something on Twitter, because I'm a little bit free right now. I have some free time in my hands, and I went to Twitter. I was like, guys, this is going to be tonight's video, you know, I'm gonna upload this, it's gonna be a trailer or whatever, a gameplay demo, like literally anything you can think of. And when I saw the positivity through the side of my community and my numbers growing, like the followers, the likes on my tweets, Instagram page or whatever for the game, I was like, okay, so this is going to, you know, get some hits. It's going to become something. And I was certain that it was gonna become it was bound to become a success at some point if I were to focus, like keep focusing on that part like I was doing at that time. So I had a plan which allowed me to become more motivated, because once again, I do get motivated by numbers, etc. So I had a plan. I was like, all right, if I keep like this, my numbers are gonna grow, my game is gonna grow. I became motivated, and the motivation boost will hit your focus on school as well. And if you ask why, let's think of it this way. You have 50% of your days go to game dev, and you have 50% of the rest of your day go to school. Or maybe like these percentages can be worked on, obviously, depending on how much you work on these. But no matter, like if you just have your game dev and school day-to-day basis, and you have 50% of your day going really good and the other 50% maybe not so good or a little bit less than good, you're going to become motivated from the positive part of the 50% that is actually going good. And when you have the mentality from the motivation and dedication to not focus on the bad parts of your failure, but focus on the positive parts, you're gonna gain a little bit of motivation on the 50% that is actually not that positive right now. And the motivation boost from the other 50% is going to hit majorly on the other 50%. And you're gonna be feeling like, okay, I already have these numbers growing on my Twitter page or YouTube or whatever, and my game's growing under the time where I'm thinking of this, so I can focus more on school. And that's gonna motivate you and keep motivating you to work even harder at school, or vice versa, if it's your game that's not going as good as your school or whatever. And by saying this, I don't want you to forget about prioritizing what actually matters the most for you. And by that, I mean, if you have an exam that's coming up next week and it's really important, focus on that. Like that's almost as if I'm saying that to a little kid. I know that a lot of people are going to be like, at this point of this video, they're going to be like, you're not sharing that much of a useful information. But this is true. It's something that a lot of people forget when they see some success on the other part of the 50%. So prioritize. If you feel like your game is going pretty good, or maybe just even mediocre, right? And you have a very important exam that you know is going to matter a lot to you, don't fail on it. If you do fail, don't be scared. It's not the end of the world, right? It's not gonna end up with you not being able to graduate or whatever. Just focus a lot more after failing if you do fail, and take some positive parts out of that. Do examine what you actually failed, isolate how you could skip that failure, and implement that next time you have the exam. And one thing that I always tell people is that if you're learning programming at school, if you're learning game dev at school, don't let it be ending with the school life. Just practice at home as well. And if you're making your game and you're learning coding at school and you're coding your game too, that's a perfect position for you to learn even more. Even if you're not making a game when you come home and you're just pretty much like just sitting alone in your room and you don't do anything, practice coding. Literally go out of your way to learn more coding. What school teaches you is not going to be enough, nearly enough, when you graduate from school and you're searching for a job or developing any other game. And before we end the video, I just want to say two last things. First and foremost, don't make a big deal out of this. Like the multitasking part, I can get it that it's a little bit stressful and it will become a little bit stressful, but it also becomes what you make out of it. If you only focus on the negative parts like stress, you know, whatever kind of other negative part you can find, it's going to become negative. On the other hand, if you feel like, all right, it's a little bit stressful right now, my life is a little bit messy, but at the same time, I feel like I'm really learning and I do have a plan that I can fall back onto, even though I'm a little bit freestyling right now, like with my schedule and all that, you're gonna have fun and you're gonna feel like you're becoming a lot more responsible than what you think you are. So like I said, it really becomes what you make out of it. Truly, believe me in this. And one last thing that I wanna say before we end the video, guys, don't forget your personal life. Don't allow game dev and school literally become your life. You don't live for these things. They shouldn't become your main goals of your life. Obviously, it should become your job, it should become your school life, and it should become a part of your life or parts of your life. But they should never ever consist of you out of your entire life. If you don't do anything else in your life, they're gonna become repetitive, you're gonna lose motivation, and you're gonna get bored. So go get out with your friends. If you wanna go train, do that. Just don't be scared of owning your own personal life. Like, you should still live your life and you shouldn't allow game dev, school, job, whatever else, like literally anything to become your life. You shouldn't live that job you have. You shouldn't live game dev or school. You should live your own life as you want it to. Meanwhile, you focus on making things that you love, like game dev, school, you know, focusing on success and everything like that. But just don't live those things. And yeah, so that was that was the deep kind of meaning video that I was planning to make today. I mean, this became so much more deep and so much more real than what I had expected to. But I hope that it didn't sound like a rant. If it did, I'm a little bit sorry, if I have to be honest. But guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. On a serious note though, I really appreciate every single one of your guys' support. See, consistency, I'm a little bit relating to you guys. At the same time, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that I was able to help some people and motivate and inspire some people. If I were able to, I would be honored if you let me know in the comments down below, and also leave a like down below in the video, so that you show some support on the video and to my channel. And with that being said, also hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date for new videos coming soon, like these kind of commentaries where I go really deep into your lives. And yeah, with that being said, I will catch you in the comments, guys. See you guys. Peace out. Bye bye.